It was a late day at work, and I decided to catch a ride home with my boss. As the car sped down the road, a dog suddenly dashed out in front of us. My boss hit the brakes just in time, narrowly avoiding the dog. I clutched my chest and let out a deep breath. Oh my God, thank goodness, even dogs know how to stop. The car fell silent. Realizing my words, I quickly turned to my boss. I didn't mean you were the dog, I stammered, trying to fix the situation. I just meant, dogs can stop too. No, that's not what I meant. Shut up! My boss cut me off, his lips twitching slightly. Say one more word, and I'll drop you off here to keep that dog company. All right, all right. I clammed up immediately. Another time, during a lunch break, I was sitting in the break room, slurping down a bowl of snail noodle soup while watching a comedy show. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was my boss. Do you smell something like sewage? Is the restroom blocked? He asked bluntly. I glanced at my bowl of snail noodles, panicking internally. No way! I closed the door tightly. How could he still smell it? He must have a nose like a bloodhound. I'll check it out, I replied, trying to sound casual. 10 minutes later, after dealing with the culprit, I went to report back to him. My boss sniffed the air as I approached, his expression complicated. Assistant Hua, I asked you to check if the restroom was blocked, not to go unclog it yourself. I blurted out a joke to lighten the mood. Boss, does this count as a workplace accident? He pinched his nose, clearly unable to stand the smell. Just go, before I report you for this. I scurried away, making a mental note to avoid snail noodles at work from now on. Then there was this one time in the cafeteria. I noticed my boss standing behind me in line, so I instinctively moved aside to let him through. He didn't say a word, just stepped forward to get his food, but the cafeteria worker shot him a sharp look. A big guy like you cutting in line? Seriously? I wasn't cutting, my boss responded, slightly flustered. I don't care if you're the president or the king of the world, she cut him off. You still have to line up like everyone else. His face turned a deep shade of green, almost reflective. I bit my lip, trying not to burst into laughter behind him. Ever since that incident, my boss started taking his lunch in his office, clearly scarred by the cafeteria workers' scolding. One day, I had the day off. Usually, I'm the one responsible for his meals, but that day, he had to fend for himself. Later, he called to order takeout. I happened to overhear his conversation. I'd like to order takeout. The person on the other end paused, then politely asked, What would you like to order, sir? Takeout. Sir, what specific dish would you like to order? I said, takeout. This back and forth must have gone on for a while, until finally, the person on the other end seemed to break down in frustration. Sir, we're just a small restaurant. Please stop playing around and tell us what you want to order. There was a long silence. Finally, my boss replied in his calm, unbothered tone, I want takeout. May I ask what specific dish you would like to order? I want to order takeout. I don't know how long this comical yet frustrating conversation dragged on, but in the end, the person on the other end of the line couldn't take it anymore. They burst into tears, pleading, Sir, we're just a small shop. Please don't mess with us anymore. What exactly would you like to order? My boss paused for a moment before slowly uttering, I want to order takeout. Due to his work, my boss often goes on business trips. I still remember the first time I went to his house to pack his luggage. He was lounging on the sofa, reading a financial magazine, while I busily prepared everything like a devoted nanny. Sir, would you prefer dark or light-colored shirts? Anything is fine. And the suits? Should I pack 3 or 5? He narrowed his eyes at me. I'm going on a business trip, not a fashion show. After packing, I prepared to leave. He reached out his hand. Hand it over. I was puzzled. Hand what over? Seriously? The plane ticket, of course. You don't expect me to swim to France, do you? Ha ha ha. My boss really does have a sharp tongue. When I first got the job, Even before we met in person, he called me to gather more personal information. After all, as his personal assistant, he needed to know everything. I remember that call clearly. I was both nervous and anxious. But by the end, I felt like quitting even before starting the job. He asked, "In your resume, you listed 160 and 100. Are those measurements for width or height?" "How could they be width? Have you ever seen an adult only 100 centimeters tall?" He chuckled. "Just kidding. You seemed a bit tense. Relax." "Thank you, sir. That's very thoughtful." Later, when we finally met in person, he mumbled under his breath, "I wonder if those height and weight figures are accurate. Maybe you fudged the numbers a bit?" Oh, heaven. Please take my boss away. Actually, my boss and I were even schoolmates, though he graduated a few years ahead of me. He probably doesn't remember me, but his reputation was well known at school. Our homeroom teacher used to hold him up as a shining example, always saying, "Tam Huai An, back in the day, was one of the brightest students, got direct admission to Tsinghua University, incredibly talented, and now even runs his own company. You should all strive to be like him. Even if you can't be as outstanding, at least don't be completely hopeless." I never imagined that one day I would end up working under him. You could call it fate, I suppose. One day, my boss suddenly asked, "You graduated from number 20 high school too, right?" I was genuinely touched that he remembered. "Yes, it's an honor to be your fellow alum, sir." He looked at me seriously. "Seems like the admission standards at number 20 high school have really dropped." I silently clenched my teeth. This isn't fate, it's a curse. My boss is extremely picky about food. Just how picky, you ask? He doesn't eat scallions, onions, celery, beans, or anything with a strong, pungent smell. Every time I order food for him, it feels like I'm taking on an almost impossible mission. Once, I got a bit frustrated and asked, "Boss, you don't eat this, you don't eat that. How exactly did you grow up?" He shot me a sideways glance and said, "It's all thanks to my genes, unlike you." Oh no, I knew where this was going. Another personal attack. I quietly grabbed the lunchbox and slipped out of the room, putting as much distance as possible between myself and his sharp tongue. To be fair, my boss isn't always this bad. One evening, we were working late together. He glanced at me with a slightly guilty expression. "Sigh, so young, yet stuck here working overtime with me. At your age, you should be out traveling, enjoying your youth." I shot back without thinking. "Then would you sponsor that trip?" He immediately switched his tone. "Ha ha, just joking. Young people should focus on working hard, right?" he said, patting my shoulder. I shot him a look that said, "Just admit you're stingy." Once, I asked for a day off. "What for?" he asked. "To be a bridesmaid," I replied. He raised an eyebrow. "Do bridesmaids get paid?" "Of course, I'll get an envelope with 200,000 Vietnamese dong," I said proudly. He quickly did the math. "So you're willing to skip work and miss out on your regular salary plus bonuses, all for a mere 200,000? Are you sure you want to lose your attendance bonus for that?" I quickly counted on my fingers, hesitated for a moment, then picked up my phone. "Hello? Sorry, I can't be a bridesmaid today." After I hung up, my boss chuckled. "I was just messing with you." I smiled back. So was I. Once, my boss went on a blind date. When he came back, his face looked gloomy. I immediately knew he had probably failed again. As his assistant, I felt like I should comfort him. But before I could say a word, he sighed. Is there really no woman in this world worthy of me? Forget about comforting him. Looking at his overly confident face just drained all my energy. To be honest, my boss is probably the most handsome one I've ever had. He's not bald, doesn't have a beer belly, doesn't have bad breath. Quite the opposite. He's tall, lean, and has a long, elegant frame. His face even has a slight resemblance to Takeshi Kaneshiro. Thick eyebrows, large eyes, and a sharp, commanding expression when he's serious. And in a suit? Absolutely stunning. The only problem is, once he opens his mouth, You immediately want to smack him. As a native of Sichuan, whenever he gets angry, he starts cursing in his thick regional accent. You brat! You scoundrel! I'll twist your ear off. Hey, how dare he threaten a fairy like me? My boss is the kind of guy who doesn't even realize how handsome he is. One time, I accompanied him on a business trip. Our client was a female executive, and throughout the meeting, her eyes were practically glued to him. If I hadn't been there as the third wheel, I'm pretty sure she would have devoured him whole, without a trace left. After we wrapped up the contract discussions and returned to the hotel, the moment we walked in, he asked, "Pour me a glass of water." I obediently went to pour the water. He took a sip, then patted his chest. Oh my God, I almost got scared to death. I couldn't help but laugh. Well, that's what you get for being handsome, always attracting swarms of admirers. One day, my boss's mother visited the company. I was the one who greeted her. She was a gentle and friendly lady. She took my hand, speaking kindly. My son, though he can be a bit sharp-tongued, he's a good man in other ways. You should be more understanding, be more patient with him. Living together, it's only natural to have some conflicts from time to time. The more she spoke, the more I felt that something was off. Then my boss returned from his meeting, looking at his mother with a helpless expression. Mom, this is my assistant, not my wife. My face turned bright red from embarrassment. To be honest, deep down, I do have a bit of a crush on my boss. After all, as a woman with normal hormones, facing a handsome, well-dressed man like him every day, who wouldn't be a little smitten? But I kept my feelings hidden very well. One day, during a lunch break, my boss suddenly asked me, "What kind of men do you like?" I thought for a moment and replied, "The opposite of you." He was silent for a long moment before his thin lips finally spat out a single word, "Get out!" I quickly made my exit. Whenever my boss returns from a business trip, he always brings me gifts. Sometimes it's imported chocolates, other times a silk scarf, or luxury skincare products. At first, I accepted these gifts with mixed feelings, a bit of joy, but also worry, fearing that he might deduct their cost from my already modest salary. Later, I found out that all these things were actually gifts from his business partners. And since he's a man and has no use for them, he just dumped them all on me. I spent half a day mistakenly thinking he was being thoughtful. Once, the company organized a team-building trip. Everyone was giving their ideas. Some wanted to hike, others preferred the beach, and a few suggested camping. My boss turned to me. "What do you want to do?" I thought for a moment before replying seriously. "I want to spend a day traveling in my bed." In the end, my boss chose a mountain hike and made me follow him throughout the trip to carry tea and water for him. Ha ha ha! Young people shouldn't be so lazy, lying around all day. Don't you feel ashamed? He teased. I just wanted to cry without tears. On the mountain, there was a huge meadow where we set up camp. Everyone had already split into groups and finished pitching their tents, except for my boss and me. Half a day had passed, and our tent still lay flat on the ground. I shot my boss a look that clearly said, "You don't know how to set up a tent, do you?" He shot me a look right back. "Do you think I do?" We both fell silent. I clapped my hands, stood up, and went to find Xiaozhang, the best tent setter in the group. When I returned with Xiaozhang, chatting and laughing, my boss's face darkened. "Why did you bring someone over?" "I can do it myself." "What can you do?" Poor Xiaozhang, afraid of angering the boss, didn't dare come any closer. In the end, my boss somehow managed to get the tent up, but it was a struggle. Just as he crawled inside to test it out, a strong gust of wind blew through. The tent took off. It really flew away. My boss just sat there on the ground, completely bewildered. I couldn't hold back my laughter. I burst out laughing. He remained dazed for a while, then finally laughed too. "Go get Xiaozhang to help me," he said. In the end, we managed to set up the tent. My boss tried to regain his dignity and spoke in a serious tone. "You know, everyone has their own area of expertise." I nodded. Exactly. When it comes to tormenting me, you're absolutely professional. That night, we had a barbecue. While grilling skewers, I chatted with Xiaozhang. Suddenly, my phone beeped with a WeChat notification. I checked it. It was from my boss. He texted, "You're smiling so wide. Aren't you afraid the wind will blow into your mouth?" The corners of my mouth twitched. Where on earth was he spying on me from? I playfully replied, "Boss, do you want to eat something?" He answered, "No." Great. I continued grilling skewers while chatting with Xiaozhang. However, by the time we finished grilling, all the food had been snatched up by the other female colleagues. I wanted to cry, but there were no tears. Xiaozhang tried to comfort me. "It's okay, let's just grill some more." But then, another group of colleagues came over. Xiaozhang sneaked away, leaving me to continue grilling alone. "I want grilled eggplant, grilled squid, and grilled mushrooms." My boss suddenly appeared, acting like a starving ghost. Finally, I had a legitimate reason to escape the hungry crowd. But when I brought the grilled food to my boss, he was leisurely sipping wine and reading a book. The scene looked incredibly refined, but also really classy. Damn handsome guys. Whatever they do just looks right. "Boss, the grilled food is ready." He glanced lazily and said, "Suddenly, I'm not hungry anymore. You go ahead and eat." Well, I had no choice but to eat it myself. I couldn't help but feel like my boss was smiling faintly while I ate. I stayed in a small tent next to his. Before going to sleep, I reminded him earnestly, "Boss, you absolutely must wake me up to watch the sunrise, okay? Promise." However, the next morning, I missed the sunrise. I was full of resentment. "Boss, why didn't you wake me up?" He stretched out his hand. "I did try to wake you, but you scratched me. Look at this. How are you going to make up for it?" Even though I missed the sunrise, the meadow was still beautiful. The sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the sheep were grazing peacefully. I excitedly shouted and rushed over, hoping for an epic encounter with the sheep. But instead, my left foot tripped over my right, and I fell flat on my face, a painful, face-planting fall. My boss, walking behind me, laughed so hard he almost couldn't stand up straight. "You wanted to fit in with the sheep so much that you've already started learning to graze like them?" I spat out a few blades of grass from my mouth, feeling like crying, but unable to shed tears. What an embarrassing moment. Because of that fall, I was too embarrassed to go near the sheep again. I just sat off to the side, sulking in silence. Not long after, I heard a soft "bah, bah" behind me. I turned around and saw my boss, completely expressionless, holding a little lamb in his arms. "Hurry up and pet it before its mother comes back," he said. "It'll be trouble if she finds out." Oh my God, why on earth did he grab someone else's baby? One day, my boss suddenly asked me, "Do you know how to make good use of your time?" Without missing a beat, I replied, "Boss, even if I had all the time in the world, I wouldn't spend it picking up poop." He looked at me like I was an idiot. "Read more books, kid." One night, my boss went out for drinks with clients and got wasted. He called me to pick him up. Grumbling the whole way, I dragged myself out of bed, threw on a jacket, and went to get him. It took all my strength to haul him back to his apartment, and I was panting like a dog by the time we arrived. Then he started acting up, as drunk people do. He suddenly sat up, raised his hand dramatically, and in a deeply emotional tone declared, "Look around you, my dear. This is the kingdom I conquered for you." Oh my God, someone save me. Why is he such a melodramatic fool when he's drunk? After every meeting, my boss has a strange habit of adding, "Give me another 5 minutes." Immediately, a chorus of groans and sighs would rise from the rest of the team. One day, I asked him, "Why do you always do that? Do you have some kind of weird obsession with it?" He straightened his face and replied, "Back in school, my homeroom teacher would always say, 'All right, students, just give me 5 more minutes.'" "So what?" I asked. He continued, his expression distant and nostalgic. "So now, I want to interview you all. How does it feel when I say that?" What else could we feel, other than the overwhelming urge to strangle you? He really had too much time on his hands. Once, my boss was getting ready to attend a business banquet. He told me to accompany him as his date. I got super excited. Oh my gosh, boss. Does this mean I finally get to help you strike a pose? He looked me up and down and said, if you were the one posing with me, the whole banquet would probably collapse. How annoying. He can insult people without ever using a single curse word. When we arrived at the banquet, the moment I turned my back, I completely disappeared into the crowd. He eventually found me at the buffet table, my cheeks puffed out like a hamster as I stuffed my face. He shot me a dark look and asked, did I bring you here to work or to eat? With your cheeks so puffed up like that, when was the last time you had a proper meal? I almost choked. He handed me a glass of orange juice with a disappointed sigh. Forget it. Just eat, stuff yourself. Clearly you're no help to me here. I could tell. He had completely given up on me. The entire evening, I watched my boss go around greeting everyone, drinking glass after glass as if it were water. When the banquet finally ended, he was visibly tipsy. I pulled a small cake out of my bag. Boss, here, have a little snack. Then I handed him a drink, followed by a small piece of steak. Eventually, I even pulled out a handful of lobster. The corners of his mouth twitched. What are you, Doraemon? He's always bullying and looking down on me, but I have a little self-respect too. I looked him straight in the eye and said, Boss, if you keep treating me like this, I'm going to quit. What's this? Did some other company try to poach you? My boss asked. I shook my head. Or maybe your father is a billionaire? I shook my head again. Then perhaps you've saved enough money to quit? Definitely not. My savings aren't even a fraction of my boss's. Wait, how do I even know what's in my boss's personal bank account? Then where did you get the courage to say something like that? Boss, I'm sorry. It seemed like my boss had done some serious soul-searching and decided he had been too harsh with me. Suddenly, he did a complete 180 and started treating me with alarming kindness. When I accidentally attached the wrong contract, he was about to explode, but then just sighed. Huan Yu, you're really something. Silly girl, it's okay, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Just be more careful next time. I couldn't stop trembling. When I messed up his schedule, he jumped up and said, Huan Yu, you're really something. Wonderful. I actually didn't feel like going out today. Great job. I was completely freaked out. After a few days of this, I felt like I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I broke down in tears. Boss, if you want to fire me, just say it. Please stop playing with my fragile little soul. He just looked at me, utterly helpless. As his assistant, I'm naturally the person who spends the most time with him. Recently, a new intern joined the company, and she was clearly smitten with my boss. Several times, she completely ignored me and went straight to see him. Since my boss didn't seem to mind, I let it slide. One day after work, my boss called me into his office. You're my assistant, right? He asked. I nodded. Then why are you letting just anyone come into my office? He said, his tone dripping with hidden meaning. My mouth moved faster than my brain. Boss, it seemed like you kind of enjoyed it. The result? I got kicked out of his office that very same day. That intern quit shortly after. According to my boss, she wasn't just an intern. She was a she-wolf with green, predatory eyes that were constantly fixed on him. He said he narrowly escaped losing his innocence. It wasn't until then that I found out the intern was actually the daughter of the CEO of one of our partner companies. I felt a bit concerned, but on the outside, I kept my cool. Boss, come on, she's beautiful and clearly into you. Why not just accept her? Why not accept you instead? He shot back without thinking. Next time, if you don't protect me properly, you'd better believe I'll… What? What will you do? I challenged him. He sighed. I'll crush you into crumbs like a cookie. I'm not the only one concerned about my boss's love life. For instance, my colleague A once said, Hey, we've worked here for a long time, but I've never seen the boss with a girlfriend. Do you think the boss might be, that type? I thought about it. It's possible. I've actually suspected it for a while. I mean, what kind of normal guy shows zero interest in women? And just like that, we started gossiping. After work, I planned to hitch a ride home with my boss. But as soon as I reached for the car door, he locked it. He looked at me with a sly smile. Assistant Hua, you were bad-mouthing me to your colleagues today, and now you still want a ride? Dream on. Hoo-hoo, boss, I'm sorry. Sorry for what? He asked. For assuming you're not a normal man. Oh, and how do you know I'm normal? Because I've tested it. I really have. I was thinking of that one time when we played tennis with a client. A ball flew straight at me, and my boss lunged forward, returning the shot with a powerful swing. Now, that's real manly strength. A colleague happened to pass by, giving us a look full of fear and curiosity. Oh no, this is bad. Ever since that incident in the parking lot, rumors about me and my boss have spread like wildfire. Some people whispered that my boss had some kind of unspoken rule with me. A few others even suggested that I was a gold digger trying to hit the jackpot. Frustrated, I confronted my boss. What are we going to do? Everyone's misunderstanding our relationship. He remained completely indifferent. Let them misunderstand. People will talk no matter what. What can we do about it? Then at least explain yourself. Explain what? He replied bluntly. Explain that I have absolutely zero interest in you? Sorry, but I'm a very principled person. Even though I don't care about you, I wouldn't want to hurt your feelings. I seriously wanted to throw him out of the window right then and there. Even though he was joking, there was a hint of sincerity in his words. Maybe he really doesn't think much of me. On second thought, it makes sense. Sure, my boss can be sharp-tongued, sarcastic, arrogant, stingy, and picky, but he's also handsome, highly educated, and quite capable. All things considered, he's practically a diamond-level bachelor. Maybe he realized he had gone too far because he tried to comfort me. Actually, you're not that bad. I asked, in what way? He hesitated for a long moment before finally saying, You have a good appetite. My mom recently tried to set me up on a blind date, and out of desperation, I turned to my boss for help. Please just pretend to be my boyfriend this once, okay? He paused. What's in it for me? I'll treat you to spicy hot pot. He turned and walked away. But after taking a few steps, he turned back and added awkwardly, and 2 fried dough sticks. I brought him home with me. To make the act more convincing, he even carried a bunch of shopping bags. The moment my mom saw him, that face, that aura, that charming smile, she practically split her cheeks from smiling so wide. She took his hand and said, I only have one daughter. She's great in every way, just a bit silly. Please take care of her. Wait, why did that line sound so familiar? My boss glanced at me and smiled. Don't worry, Huan Yu is wonderful. Even though I knew he was just acting, my face still turned bright red, and my heart raced faster than a ticking clock. After dinner, I walked my boss to the door. He patted his stomach and said, I'm so full. Let's go for a walk by the river to help digest this. Since he had just done me such a big favor, of course, I agreed immediately. Oh, by the way, boss, how much did you spend on the shopping earlier? Just let me know, and I'll transfer the money to you. He gave me a sideways glance. Do you think I'm short on cash? I sighed. All right. I know you're a rich guy. Stop rubbing salt into my wounds, okay? But still, money between friends should be clearly settled, right? He reached out and patted my head. Did you take a literature class with a gym teacher? Who said I want to be just friends with you? Later, he admitted there was something he didn't say that day, that he didn't want to be my brother. What he really wanted was for us to call the same person Mom. To thank him, I went to the trouble of baking some cookies at home and brought them to the office. When I handed him the cookies, he seemed genuinely happy, but the moment he took a bite, he went completely silent. I asked, How are they? Tasty? He replied, Are you trying to thank me or assassinate me? Good thing he's still young. If he were any older, my cookies might have made his dentures pop out. Every day, I have to take the bus and then transfer to the subway to get to work, which means I'm always racing against time to clock in. Once, I was about to be late and made a last-second dash through the door, accidentally body-checking my boss on the way in. The cleaning lady had just mopped the floor that morning. A bit too thoroughly, I might add, and my boss slid all the way out the door. I stood there, my employee card in hand, frozen like a wooden statue. He slowly picked himself up, clutching his back with a pained expression. "Assistant Hua, you get in here, now." Shaking with fear, I followed him into his office. I thought for sure I was about to get fired. Even though my boss works out regularly, that fall must have really hurt his back. As soon as we got inside, he collapsed onto the sofa and groaned. "This is bad. Quick, come over and massage my back." Later, he called me into his office again. "Start handing over your recent work." I froze, my heart sinking. Was he really planning to fire me? He opened his mouth to say something, but I cut him off. "Boss, I can't believe you're this ungrateful, this heartless, this cold and ruthless. You're like a wolf in sheep's clothing, utterly shameless." I figured if I was about to be fired anyway, I might as well get it all off my chest. After my rant, I felt a bit better and said, "All right, your turn. Go ahead." He just gave me a faint, mocking smile. "Well, I was going to say that you've been working hard lately, so I wanted to give you some time off. But now, do you think I can still stop myself from firing you?" My eyes filled with tears. "Boss, please, you decide. Should I kneel on a keyboard or instant noodles? I'm sorry, okay?" And so, I nervously stepped into my unexpected vacation. Before I left, my boss said he wouldn't hold a grudge over something so trivial, and that he didn't want to stoop to the level of a little kid like me. I ended up making plans to hit the beach with my best friend. As I sat on the sand, building a sandcastle, my best friend came running over, all excited. "Hey, I just saw a super handsome guy over there. Go get his WeChat." "Why should I go?" "Come on, you're still single. If you don't go, who will?" She teased me mercilessly. "Besides, I'm already taken." Left with no choice, I reluctantly agreed. As I approached the guy from behind, the closer I got, the more familiar he seemed. He turned around with a smile. "Assistant Hua, what a coincidence." "No way." "Boss? I'm on vacation. Why are you following me here?" Later, I brought my boss along for lunch. My best friend, still clueless about the situation, kept winking at me, making sly faces. "I didn't expect you to stay quiet for so long, only to make such a strong move. You snagged him this quickly?" I casually replied. "He's my boss." "Oh, sorry for interrupting then." Hoo-hoo. With my boss around, my friend and I felt too restrained to fully enjoy ourselves. At one point, she leaned over and whispered, "Hey, this is the first time I've ever seen an employee take a vacation with their boss as a chaperone. Are you sure your boss doesn't have a screw loose?" I sighed. "I'm used to it." "Used to it, my foot. I think he has a thing for you. Look at him, his eyes are glued to you like a doting father." "Hey, no incest jokes, okay?" She smacked me on the arm playfully. After a long day of fun, my boss asked me, "Did you have a good time today?" I looked at him and replied, "What do you think?" "When I was building a sandcastle, you said the waves would wash it away soon. When I wanted to go swimming, you warned me that a shark might come and turn me into its dinner. When I tried to play beach volleyball, you said that with my underdeveloped brain and uncoordinated limbs, I should just forget about it. Treat me to a late-night snack, and I might consider forgiving you," I added. We ended up at a barbecue place by the beach. In the distance, I could hear the gentle crash of the waves. Even though I couldn't see the sea from our table, the sound of the waves paired perfectly with grilled skewers. It was bliss. "Boss, you've been pretty busy lately. Why did you come all the way out here?" I probed, trying to figure out if he was here because he had free time or because he actually cared. He looked me in the eyes. "What do you think?" What was I supposed to say to that? Suddenly, the food didn't taste as good. "Hmm." He muttered, "Training an assistant isn't easy, you know." It takes a lot of effort to find someone who can work well with me. If you got swept away by a wave or eaten by a shark, I'd have to start all over again. Thanks, boss, I replied sarcastically. I ended up drinking a bit too much. My boss had to carry me back to my hotel room. After a round of vomiting, he stepped forward and reached for my jacket. I clutched it tightly, throwing myself into the role of a dramatic soap opera actress. What are you doing, you pervert? I'd rather die than let you take advantage of me. His face darkened. Relax. Even if you stripped naked and danced in front of me, I wouldn't bother turning my head. My boss carefully removed my smelly jacket, then went into the bathroom to wet a towel and wiped my face. I giggled and looked at him. Boss, you're acting just like my mom right now. He scrubbed my face a bit too hard, almost peeling off my skin. Still think I'm like your mom now? I clutched my head and ran away. Even more like her now. Are you insane? Who wants to be your mom? He pretended to swing the towel at me, then just sighed and rubbed his forehead. Why am I wasting my time arguing with a drunk idiot? I clung to his arm. Stay with me tonight. He froze, his eyes wide with shock. Do you even know what you're saying? I nodded. Of course I do. My mom stays with me every night, massaging my feet until I fall asleep. I felt like his eyes were about to shoot lasers at me. After rolling around for half the night, I finally flopped onto the bed, but I still couldn't settle down. Tell me a bedtime story. My mom always tells me one before I sleep. He stood by the bed, looking down at me with a deadpan expression. Grandpa took his grandson rowing. They rowed and rowed and rowed until the oar snapped. All right, fine, boss. You're no better. Sly as a fox, fierce as a tiger when angry, and as cold-blooded as a viper. But under his threatening gaze, my voice gradually grew quieter. If I said any more, I might have to pack my bags and flee. We went to see the pandas. Watching the clumsy, adorable creatures, I mumbled, being a national treasure really has its perks. Even when they fart, people find it cute. My boss looked at me, his eyes suddenly so gentle they seemed almost watery. You're the same. Even when you fart, it's special. I blushed and asked, what's so special about it? It's just special. With that, he turned and started walking away. Realizing what he said, I chased after him, running in circles around the panda enclosure. When our trip finally ended, we boarded the plane to head back home. As usual, I had booked a first-class ticket for my boss, while I sat in the economy section. As soon as he realized I wasn't around, he called me, Where are you? The plane's about to take off. I'm in economy class, I replied. The line went silent. About 10 minutes later, a man awkwardly shuffled into the seat next to me. I turned to look. It was my boss. Boss, what are you doing here? His face darkened. First class was full. My slow brain took a moment to catch up, and then I burst out laughing. He looked even more embarrassed. What are you laughing at? It was his first time in economy class, and he couldn't sit still, fidgeting like a worm, twisting and turning in his seat. I suggested, Boss, why don't you go back to first class? This seat is way too cramped for someone like you. He just grunted, pulled down his eye mask, and tried to sleep. Not even 5 minutes later, he yanked off the mask and pretended to stretch. I can't sleep. Help me fall asleep. Boss, how old are you? You still want me to lull you to sleep? He gave me a side eye. And how old are you? The other night, when you were drunk, you clung to me and talked my ear off until my throat went dry. Hey, that's not the same thing. By the time the plane landed, it was already late. I only lived about a 10-minute walk from the airport, but my boss, with his giant mansion in the suburbs, had a much longer trip. I was about to call him a cab, but he suddenly grabbed my phone, his face turning serious. It's too late. I'll crash at your place tonight. I'm too tired to go home. I forced a crooked smile. How could I possibly let my boss stay at my tiny apartment? How about I book you a nice hotel instead? He just looked at me and chuckled. Golden palaces and silver mansions can't compare to your humble doghouse. I nearly flipped the table. If my place is a doghouse, Then why are you even coming over? Blushing, I added, Boss, a single man and a single woman staying in the same apartment. People might gossip. He remained completely unfazed. Walk your own path. Let them say what they want. I'm worried people might think you have some kind of unspoken rule with me. He shot me a look. Excuse me, do you think I'm that kind of boss? I continued. And I don't want people saying I'm a frog trying to eat swan meat. He absent-mindedly glanced up at the sky. Well, maybe the swan is willing to be eaten. In the end, my boss did end up at my place. I took the sofa, while he took my bed. Since he's a clean freak, I even changed the sheets and blankets to fresh ones. After his shower, he walked out in my spare pajamas, towel drying his hair. He casually said, I'm hungry. Want to order some late-night snacks? Of course. What should we get? Spicy lobster? Maybe some spicy mixed salad too? Perfect. Let's add a case of beer. As we sat there, our hands greasy from the spicy lobster, my boss sighed dramatically. It's true what they say. You become like the people you're around. Eating my food and still daring to lecture me. The next morning, when I woke up, my apartment was spotless. It felt so strange that I almost didn't recognize my own place. My boss was standing on the balcony, sipping a cup of coffee, looking every bit the successful businessman. Well, he actually is a successful businessman. I asked, Boss, did you clean all this? I never expected my boss to be so diligent. He shot me a resentful glance. If not me, then who? You think the cleaning fairies did it? He muttered to himself, Men work outside, women handle the home. Does this mean I'll have to take care of both the outside and inside in the future? What are you mumbling about, boss? What's this outside and inside business? He looked at me with a resigned expression. Never mind. It's just my fate. Did eating spicy lobster with me last night mess up his head? Why is he talking nonsense so early in the morning? When Uncle Chen, my boss's driver, came to pick him up, our conversation in the car went something like this. Boss, your bed was too hard. I didn't sleep well. Get a softer mattress next time. The car swerved slightly. Out of habit, I quickly nodded. Got it, boss. Boss, I also noticed you didn't eat your egg yolks this morning. Don't be a picky eater. The car swerved again. I rolled my eyes discreetly. Who's the real picky eater here? Boss. And by the way, you completely exhausted me last night. Be more mindful next time. This time, Uncle Chen cleared his throat loudly. I knew my boss was talking about our drinking session, where I completely outdrank him. After saying all this, my boss cheerfully added, Uncle Chen, if you didn't sleep well last night, take it easy on the road. No need to rush. Lately, I've felt like the way my boss looks at me has changed. Before, when I reported to him, he'd only listen with his ears, his eyes always fixed on his laptop or documents. But now, every time I look up, I catch him staring at me, like a big wolf eyeing a plump rabbit. It's honestly a bit scary. During lunch, he came over with his tray and sat down next to me, casually tossing a big chicken drumstick onto my plate. Eat more, you're too skinny. After work, just as I was about to call a cab, his car pulled up right in front of me. Get in, I'll drive you home. I froze in surprise. Sitting in the car, I couldn't help but ask, Boss, why have you been treating me so well lately? Then I remembered a headhunter approached me a few days ago. Could it be that he somehow found out? Panicking, I quickly reassured him. Don't worry, boss. No matter how much they try to lure me away with money, I'll never turn my back on you. I'm loyal for life. I'll stick with you forever. He smirked. I'm only treating you well because I don't want you going off and ruining some other company. It's enough that you're tormenting just me. My boss's birthday was coming up, and my coworkers and I were discussing what kind of gift to get him. Someone suggested, how about a big birthday cake? I got excited. Or maybe a toxin filter for his mouth. Honestly, his tongue is more venomous than a cobra's. Silence. From behind me, my boss's voice suddenly rang out. Assistant Hua, come to my office. Hoo-hoo. What should I do when caught bad-mouthing the boss behind his back? I need a survival strategy, and I need it fast. As soon as I stepped into his office, I immediately put on my most loyal expression. Boss, my admiration for you is like a mighty river, flowing endlessly. My devotion to you is as towering as the highest mountain peaks. He calmly replied, 2 years ago, you gave me a song for my birthday. I froze. 2 years ago, in a moment of inspiration, I sang him a song called "A Thousand Miles Beyond the Horizon." And last year, he continued, you gave me a painting. I froze again. I had meant to send him a calligraphy piece written by my great-grandfather, but I accidentally sent him a drawing my little nephew had made instead. You probably can't guess what that painting was. That's right, a pile of poop. His face had turned a deep shade of green back then. Now, with a tight, forced smile, he said, and this year, you're planning to give me a toxin filter for my mouth. Your gifts are always so unique and special. Boss, please stop complimenting me. If you praise me anymore, I might just have to cut my own throat to apologize. This story you're listening to is called The Sharp-Tongued CEO and is being broadcast on the YouTube channel Tran Tien Min. This year, my boss decided to hold his birthday party at his house. He called me into his office and asked, Assistant Hua, would you like a promotion? I felt a surge of excitement. After all these years of hard work, am I finally getting promoted? Will I become a department head or something like that? Of course I want a promotion, I said eagerly. What's the position? My boss narrowed his charming eyes and replied, You'll be the head of my birthday party planning committee. Get lost. One of my coworkers noticed my gloomy expression and asked, Huan Yu, what's wrong? I wanted to cry, but had no tears. The boss made me the head of his birthday party planning committee. My coworker patted me on the shoulder. Well, if you're in charge, make sure to order lots of garlic butter lobster, okay? I felt like crying even more. I just wanted to eat and have fun, not play nanny. Right before the birthday party, my boss said he'd give me a day off and told me to go shopping with him. I asked, What are we buying? Well, my birthday's coming up. We'll need things like decorations, lights, maybe even a Christmas tree. I turned dark. Boss, are you throwing a birthday party or celebrating Christmas? He tilted his head. What's the difference? It's all just an excuse to party. He had a point, and I had no comeback. We spent the entire morning wandering around, and my legs felt like they were about to fall off. But my boss remained full of energy, pointing at this and that. I want this and that too. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Boss, we need to be practical here. Spend wisely. Don't just buy everything in sight. He gave me a meaningful look. Oh? So you're managing my expenses now? After we left the mall and got back to the car, my boss suddenly handed me his bank card. I stared at him in confusion. With a serious expression, he said, From now on, to stop me from spending recklessly, you should hold on to this for me. My hands trembled. Boss, are you serious? Aren't you afraid I'll run off with all your money? How can you trust me so easily? As if reading my mind, he calmly replied, With your cowardly little rabbit heart, even if I put a gold bar in front of you, you wouldn't dare take it. That hurt, boss. Boss, what do you want for your birthday? But I'm telling you now, I can't afford anything too expensive. He rubbed his neck. My neck's been feeling a bit cold lately. Got it. I ended up staying up all night knitting him a scarf. After the birthday party, he stopped me before I left. Assistant Hua, did you give me a scarf or a noose? I lowered my head in silence. I had accidentally knitted the scarf way too long, a full 3 meters. In the end, under his intense stare, I had no choice but to cut it down to a more reasonable length. For the next few days, my coworkers noticed that my boss kept wearing the same scarf, completely ignoring any attempts at color coordination. One of them even asked me, Hey, did the boss's girlfriend give him that scarf? He's been wearing it so much it's practically worn out. Girlfriend? I silently slinked away without saying a word. I'm the type of person who can't keep anything to myself, so when something's on my mind, I have to speak up. One day, when I had some free time, I asked my boss, "Boss, you've been wearing that scarf for a while now. Do you want me to wash it for you?" Without hesitation, he pulled off the scarf and tossed it to me. "Thanks." My face darkened. "Who said I was going to wash it?" "Boss, what I meant was, maybe you should switch to a different scarf. This one doesn't even look that nice anymore." He gave me a teasing smile. "The scarf itself is pretty ordinary, but I'm used to it. Switching would just be a hassle." Huh, why did it feel like there was some hidden meaning behind my boss's words? One day, my boss's nephew came to visit the office. He asked me to keep an eye on the kid for a while. The moment the little boy saw me, he scrunched up his nose and said, "This lady looks so plain. I want someone else to watch me." I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to say. My boss overheard this, chuckled, and said to his nephew, "You're absolutely right. Great, the kid is just a miniature version of my boss, a perfect heir to his sharp tongue." After calling me plain, the kid hit me with another blow. "Hey, how old are you, lady?" I answered honestly, "I'm 26. He tilted his head. "You're even older than my dog, Xiaohua." I blinked in confusion. "Who's Xiaohua?" "Our family dog. If you convert her age to human years, she's still younger than you." My face darkened. The kid then demanded a story, so I decided to tell him the rowing grandpa tale my boss once shared with me. When I finished, the kid frowned, his tiny face scrunched up in disappointment. "That was a terrible story. Let me tell you something more interesting." And just like that, I accidentally found myself listening to a scandal-filled family drama from one of the country's most powerful clans. As I listened in fascination, my boss suddenly appeared behind me like a ghost. "Assistant Hua, after hearing our family's secrets, do you feel like—" His nephew narrowed his eyes and finished the sentence. "You need to be silenced to protect the family honor?" My boss gave a cold, sarcastic laugh. "Are you two rehearsing for a soap opera or something?" Eventually, his nephew got tired of causing chaos and fell asleep on the office sofa. My boss walked over and said softly, "Assistant Hua, you've had a rough day." Out of habit, I reflexively replied, "Oh, it's not that hard. I'm just destined to serve both the old and the young." I looked up and realized my boss was standing right beside me. Panicking, I quickly changed my tone. "I mean, yes, it's a bit exhausting, but being able to take care of you guys is truly a blessing for me." My boss raised an eyebrow. "Quick thinking, Assistant Hua." His older sister wanted to thank me for taking care of her son all day, so she invited me to dinner at her house. I tried to politely decline, but my boss cut in, "If you refuse, knowing my sister, you'll end up with designer bags, luxury cosmetics, rare teas, and free international trips delivered to your doorstep every day." "Boss, with you saying that, I definitely don't want to go now." Seeing the hesitation on my face, my boss smirked. "Of course, if you don't go, I'll just fire you." At dinner, his sister, Mrs. Thang, was incredibly warm and enthusiastic, making me feel like I had just saved the world or something. She held my hand gently. "My little brother can be difficult, but please try to be patient with him. He has a sharp tongue, but don't take it to heart. Living together means there will always be little conflicts. But remember, fights start at the head of the bed and end at the foot." My face turned as dark as ink. This line sounded way too familiar. Oh, right. His mother said the exact same thing to me last time, but my boss's sister was clearly a more advanced version. I shot my boss a pleading look. He raised an eyebrow. "What are you looking at me for? My sister is talking to you, not me." After the dinner, my boss drove me home. By this point, even a fool could see that his sister was trying to matchmake us. But aren't wealthy families supposed to have high standards? His nephew once said I looked so plain that I could disappear into a crowd without a trace. So why did they seem to think I was some kind of future sister-in-law? Is it because I'm kind and generous? Or have all those romance novels I've read been lying to me? Before getting out of the car, I carefully asked my boss, Your sister seems to have misunderstood something earlier. Why didn't you correct her? He looked at me and said, some misunderstandings are better left as they are. If you let them linger long enough, they might just become reality. My heart skipped a beat. Boss, what do you mean by that? He pretended to be oblivious. Exactly what you're thinking. I pressed him further. And what exactly am I thinking? He furrowed his brow, clearly losing patience. Whatever you're thinking, that's what I mean. I was getting frustrated too. So what exactly do you mean? Most people confess their feelings with heartfelt words. But here we were, practically on the verge of a shouting match. He snapped. You're as dense as a block of rotten wood. I shot back. And you're as unreliable as a crumbling mud wall. At first, we tried to keep it civil, but soon enough, the insults started flying. You idiot? You're the idiot. Your whole family's full of idiots. Suddenly, my boss fell silent, then gave me a sly smile. You're right. My whole family is full of idiots. My face turned bright red. After calming down a bit, he looked at me under the soft glow of the car's interior lights. His eyes were clear and his expression sincere and gentle. Assistant Hua, would you like to upgrade your status? My heart started pounding again. Wait, does he mean becoming his wife? For once, his words weren't just a veiled hint. This was a clear, direct confession. I blurted out, I'll think about it, then bolted out of the car. I tossed and turned all night, my mind racing. Why did my boss suddenly start paying attention to me? And why do I feel like a fly stuck to a piece of candy, helplessly drawn to him? As a result, I didn't sleep a wink. The next morning, I was late for work. My boss called me a dozen times, and when I finally picked up, he practically yelled, Assistant Hua, don't think just because I confessed to you that you can skip work. I'll dock your pay. I was about to apologize when he added, from my own account. When I finally arrived at the office, my boss found an excuse to call me into his office. He pulled out a stack of papers and said, Assistant Hua, sign this. Normally, it's me handing him documents to sign, but now he was handing one to me? Wait, is this a slave contract? I picked it up and flipped it open. My face immediately darkened. It was a girlfriend care plan. He crossed his arms and said seriously, Take a look and see if anything's missing. We can add whatever's necessary to make it complete. What's there to add? Oh my God! I distinctly remember my boss once saying that office romances were forbidden. That's why, even though I liked him from the start, I had buried those feelings before they even had a chance to blossom. But every now and then, those feelings would flare up again, catching me off guard. My boss cleared his throat and said, I've already updated the company policy. I logged into the company intranet to check. The old rule forbidding office romances had been changed to, as long as both parties have mutual feelings, the company will not interfere in employees' personal relationships. I gave him a thumbs up. Honestly, I was thoroughly impressed. I asked him, Boss, what exactly do you like about me? He paused, deep in thought. I pressed him. Is it really that hard to answer? He sighed. It's not hard, it's just, I'm a bit embarrassed. You're not beautiful, not particularly smart. Your IQ is often below average. You eat a lot. Your voice is loud. And words like gentle, capable, and understanding have nothing to do with you. I smiled. Then if I'm so terrible, why do you still like me? He hit me with a classic, even if you're full of flaws, I still love you. Strange, isn't it? I felt my face flush, completely caught off guard by his cheesy line. After agreeing to be his girlfriend, I made one request. For now, let's keep our relationship a secret at work. So, whenever he tried to hold my hand at the office, I'd push him away the moment someone came near. At lunch, if he tried to take food from my plate, I'd smack his hand back. After work, I'd sneak out, fully covered from head to toe, before getting into his car. He grumbled, Are we dating or conducting some sort of covert operation? I just giggled. Doesn't that make it more exciting? He frowned. Exciting my ass. We had officially been dating for half a month, but aside from holding hands, We hadn't had any other kind of physical contact. My boss seemed to think our relationship was progressing too slowly, so he suggested we speed things up. I asked, "What do you mean, speed things up?" Then, in a move I still can't believe, he batted his charming eyes at me and said, "Obviously, it means kissing, hugging, and maybe even picking you up in my arms." Honestly, if anyone else had said that to me, I would have smashed his head in. But because it was him, I just melted at how unexpectedly cute he was. One day, he asked me out to see a movie. I thought this would be a great opportunity to deepen our relationship, so I specifically chose a horror film. I figured guys usually like intense, thrilling movies like that. But as soon as the opening scene started, I noticed his face change. "Wait, is this a horror movie?" "Yep, you don't like it?" He stubbornly replied. "No, I like it." I quietly snickered, thinking I'd have the perfect excuse to cling to him during the scary parts, pretending to be scared so he could play the brave, protective boyfriend. But when the first jump scare hit, it was my boss who shrank back, clinging to my arm and gripping my sleeve tightly. "This is terrifying. I want to flip this table." 3 months after we officially became a couple, I brought my boss home to meet my parents. The moment I opened the door, he stood there, carrying a bunch of gifts and greeting them politely. "Hello, Uncle, Auntie. My name is Tom Huai An, Huan Yu's boyfriend." My mom looked at my dad in confusion. Is my memory failing, or has time somehow reversed? Didn't this young man already meet us once before? My boss was too flustered to respond, while I just stood there beside him, giggling. When my mom realized that our pretend relationship had become real, she was overjoyed and prepared a table full of delicious dishes. My dad, on the other hand, sat in the corner, looking less than pleased. My boss leaned over and whispered, "What's with your dad?" I sighed. "Last time you left our house, my dad asked if we were really dating, and I told him the truth, that we were just pretending to fool my mom. But this time, it's for real." My boss nodded in understanding. "So, this is the second time he's had his hopes crushed, huh?" I covered my face in embarrassment. After dinner, my dad and my boss sat down for a game of chess. My dad is a master at chess and has never met a worthy opponent, but I've heard that my boss is also a chess prodigy, even winning awards in the past. Yet today, my boss was utterly defeated, without a single piece left on the board. After the game, I asked him, "Did you let my dad win on purpose?" He replied honestly, "I didn't dare not let him win. I've already taken his most precious treasure. If I beat him at chess too, I'd be finished." I burst out laughing. When we got back to my place, I overheard my dad grumbling, "My precious cabbage, all fresh and green, has been ruined by a pig." My mom, sitting beside him, tried to comfort him. "Even if Tu Tam, my boss, is a pig, he's a top-quality one. Our daughter isn't losing out." That pretty much sums up my relationship with my boss. At work, "Assistant Hua, do you only have a head to make you taller? How could you make such a low-level mistake? Did you even graduate elementary school?" "I'm sorry, boss." After work, "Tam Huai An, you put way too much salt in the soup. Are you trying to kill me with high blood pressure? Is that tongue of yours just for decoration?" "I'm sorry, my dear." Usually, after scolding me at work, my boss would make it up to me after hours. Sometimes it's a bouquet of flowers, other times a box of imported chocolates. Over time, the gifts started getting more extravagant, from designer handbags to luxury cosmetics, car keys, and even the deed to a house. I grimaced. "Boss, are you planning to give me all your assets?" He smirked proudly. "You think my assets are that limited? You underestimate me." "Thanks, boss. I'm really getting the full love means never having to say you're sorry experience. Except for food, I usually don't accept his overly expensive gifts, and I try to reciprocate when I can. But given my limited means, my gifts are usually homemade: cakes, cookies, sweets, and other small crafts. Once, I even made him a personalized jigsaw puzzle. He accepted all of it and even displayed them proudly in his private study. He said, "Cute handmade gifts like these will become rare one day, I have to treasure them. Because I kept refusing his gifts over and over, my boss eventually got frustrated. Huan Yu, do you not want our relationship to move forward? I blinked in confusion, my face turning bright red. Move forward? In what way? Boss, you're being a bit too forward here. He seemed even more upset. What kind of person do you think I am? I just meant that you've never really treated me like your actual boyfriend. I burst out laughing. Boss, aren't you the one being inappropriate here? One day, my boss seriously informed me, my nephew is coming to visit the office today. I immediately felt the urge to run away. But before I could escape, I heard his nephew's loud voice. Ugly auntie, why are you running away when you see me? Am I that scary? My coworkers all turned their heads in surprise. What's going on? The little rascal marched over, grabbed my hand, and announced to everyone, Ladies and gentlemen, let me formally introduce you. This is Auntie Huan Ye, my future aunt. Wait, what? Why is he calling them ladies and gentlemen and me auntie? Explain yourself, kid? My coworkers all turned to look at me. I panicked. Actually, I can explain. When I reached my boss's office, I looked like a scholar who had just had his life force drained by a fox spirit. My boss looked at me in concern. Are you okay? I shot a glare at him and his little troublemaker of a nephew. Anyone with half a brain could see that the two of them had set this whole thing up together. I huffed. I'm fine. I just have to buy everyone a big meal now to atone for keeping this secret. My boss grinned. Here, take my card. His nephew looked up at him. Uncle, are you letting Auntie Hua manage your money now? Auntie? I turned bright red. My boss ruffled his nephew's hair. That's right. Your auntie holds my money now, so don't worry. On National Day, my boss and I went to register our marriage. Even as I held the marriage certificate in my hand, it still felt unreal. Did I really just get married? And to my boss, no less? I glanced at my boss, but he seemed completely calm, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. I felt a bit annoyed. Typical man. Now that he's got me, he's already taking me for granted. That night, after I got out of the shower, my boss was already lying in bed. When he saw me walk out, he patted the bed beside him, his face full of anticipation. Wife, I've been waiting for you. Before getting married, I always imagined the life of a wealthy wife would be something like this. After the wedding, you can't go to work anymore. You have to stay at home every day, dealing with the endless demands of your in-laws. No matter how glamorous you look on the outside, you're secretly crying on the inside. But in reality, today turned out to be a workout session with my mother-in-law, Liu Jianghong. Slow down, Mom, I can't keep up. Meanwhile, my father-in-law, not one to be outdone, was dancing even harder beside us. After our exercise session and a long, relaxing shower, my mother-in-law and I flopped down on the sofa, exhausted. She sighed. I'm really craving some spicy lobster. Me too. We exchanged a glance, and then my father-in-law chimed in. Let's go. While my son and your father aren't home, let's sneak out for a feast. Yes, let's go. That night, my boss and father-in-law came home from the bar, each dragging back a drunken mess. After getting married, aside from having someone to keep me warm at night and moving into a bigger house, my life didn't really change much. I still went to work, and I was still my boss's assistant. But there were some differences. Every time I finished updating him on his schedule, he would put down his pen and sigh. Oh, my hand is so sore. I'll massage it for you. Oh, my legs are sore too. I'll massage them as well. His eyes lit up. My lips are feeling a bit sore too. I gave him a good smack. Serves you right. Because of our increasingly flirtatious interactions at work, our coworkers grew increasingly annoyed. They demanded that we stop openly showing affection in the office. I, of course, agreed immediately. But my boss, while nodding in agreement on the outside, continued to flaunt our relationship at every opportunity. The moment I finished seeing off a client, he would be standing at my desk, grinning. Assistant Hua, you're amazing! Our coworkers practically fell out of their chairs. My face turned bright red. I wanted nothing more than to kick him back to his office. Honestly, I really wanted to change my workstation. They say distance makes the heart grow fonder. Seeing each other at both work and home, 24/7, would eventually lead to boredom. I brought this up to him. He thought for a moment and said, "You're right. Distance does create beauty." I felt a glimmer of hope. "So, starting today, you'll move your desk from outside to inside my office. The distance before was too far." What kind of twisted logic is that? My boss even took time off work to take me on our honeymoon. He asked me where I wanted to go. I replied, "I want to eat authentic snail noodles in Liuzhou, real street burgers in Xi'an, roast duck in Beijing, fried rice in Yangzhou, sweet and sour fish in Hangzhou, and Buddha jumps over the wall in Fujian." He raised an eyebrow. "Are we going on a honeymoon or a national food tour?" I just smiled mysteriously. In the end, he still took me to all those places, letting me eat everything I wanted. Once my cravings were fully satisfied, he grumbled, "The only place left for us to go is some secluded island, reachable only by helicopter, where no one can disturb us." I said, "Boss, if it's just the two of us on the island and a tiger or lion shows up, we'll be its dinner." He looked at me like I was an idiot. A tiger, I can understand. But a lion swimming all the way from Africa? And who said it's just the two of us on the island? Do you think this is a game of PUBG? Only then did I realize that the island wasn't just for us. It was actually home to several families. And all of them grew grapes and made wine. My boss promised to take me wine tasting, and I eagerly followed him. He swirled his glass, appreciating the bouquet, while I just kept repeating, "So good! This is really good! It's incredibly delicious!" I covered my face in embarrassment. One time, I drank way too much, and my boss had to carry me home. As soon as he set me down on the bed, he leaned over me, his eyes shining. "Well, well, someone had a bit too much to drink." I murmured, "Not just a bit, I'm also—" The next morning, I woke up to find my boss leaning on one hand, grinning smugly at me. "So it turns out I get all sorts of benefits when you're drunk. Hoo-hoo, no matter how good the wine is, never drink past your limit." We've been married for half a year now, but every time I come out of the shower, my boss still turns bright red with embarrassment. I tease him, "Oh my, didn't someone once say that even if I walked around naked in front of him, if he turned to look, he'd be a total pervert?" My boss straightened up and replied seriously, "Who said that? It definitely wasn't me." I smirked. "You're right. It was a pig that said it." One day, I asked him, "When did you start liking me anyway?" He scratched his head. "To be honest, I'm not really sure. It must have been one of those affection grows over time things." I was curious. "Then why wasn't it love at first sight? I fell for you at first sight, you know." He, always the straightforward one, replied, "Well, that depends on the face." I gave him a playful kick, sending him flying off the couch. One day, I was watching a dramatic romance on TV. The intense, passionate love story between the male and female leads made me a bit envious. I said, "Boss, why is our relationship as bland as plain water?" He shot me a sideways glance. "What are you talking about?" "That's called a deep, enduring love." A deep, enduring love. That actually sounds kind of romantic. Because I was so used to calling him boss at work, I still called him that at home, too. He wasn't happy about it. When we're alone, you can call me hubby, you know? So I started switching between boss and hubby, depending on the situation. One time, I accidentally called him hubby at work. "Hubby, come here for a second." The look on our client's face, it was as if he'd been bitten by a dog. A year later, I got pregnant. My boss was over the moon, but his joy only lasted a single day before he started worrying. He didn't say anything to me, but I caught him late at night, poring over his laptop in his study. When he went to the bathroom, I snuck a peek at his screen. Why is a 10-month pregnancy so exhausting? How to deal with a pregnant woman's mood swings? How much does childbirth hurt? That night, as we were getting ready for bed, he suddenly turned to me. "Wife, maybe we shouldn't have this baby." I knew he was just worried about me, but I still asked, "Why? You don't like kids?" He looked conflicted. "No, I do. But I'm more afraid of losing you." As he said this, his expression grew more and more pained, as if he were imagining the worst. "No, I can't lose you." What a fool. People say that a pregnant woman should be treated like a princess for 10 months, but I felt more like an empress dowager. One night, I said I wanted some water. My boss shot up immediately. "Let me get it. Don't move. Stay right there." Normally, he's so exhausted from work that he falls asleep the moment his head hits the pillow. But ever since I got pregnant, he wakes up instantly if I so much as stir. Whenever I bent down to put on my shoes, he would immediately rush over. "Let me do it. Let me do it." This once dignified CEO now knelt on one knee to put shoes on my feet. My mom shot my dad a resentful look. "Look at your son-in-law, then look at yourself." My dad immediately gave his son-in-law a sharp glare. After 10 long months of pregnancy, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Everyone came to visit the newborn, but my boss never left my side. I asked him, "How's the baby?" His eyes sparkled with unshed tears. His voice choked. "Wife, let's not have any more kids." Later, my mom told me that while I was in the delivery room, my boss had paced back and forth outside so much that the soles of his shoes had worn down. I had heard stories of husbands casually playing games in the waiting room while their wives gave birth. But here was my husband, practically wearing a trench into the hospital hallway. I laughed and cried at the same time. Having a man who loves me this much, I have no regrets in this lifetime. I asked him, "If we argue in the future, will you apologize?" He was silent for a moment before replying, "That depends on what the argument is about." But then he added, "If possible, I'd rather we never fight." As if he had never scolded me before. Back when I was his assistant, he used to rain down on me with criticism every single day. He said, "But things are different now. You have the ultimate leverage, our child. If you get mad and take the baby back to your parents' house, I'd lose both my wife and my child." My face darkened. Is that really how you use that saying? One night, we stood on the balcony, gazing up at the stars. He asked me, "What's the most right thing you've ever done in your life?" I whispered, "Probably when I chose to take this job. 2 companies offered me positions, but I chose yours." He took my hand and gave it a gentle kiss. "Do you know what the most right thing I've ever done is?" I grinned. "Obviously, marrying me." He shook his head. "The most right thing I ever did was to work hard to become strong and capable so I could protect you and our child." All right, I can't beat that. This man is just too good at flirting. But still, I felt so happy hearing those words. For the rest of my life, please take care of me. Meeting you has been my greatest happiness. And with that, this little fictional story comes to an end. Through this tale, I hope all of you young souls out there find a little more faith in life.